Greetings from Aulick Outdoors and welcome to Press Box West. This is one of the plots that I said in one of my earlier videos that I would definitely do a video on, because it's one of those spots where the deer like to just congregate. And there's a couple of reasons. One is it's got a great food source. And this is one of the keys to this plot. This plot was planted last August with a mix of my October blend and my December blend, and a huge helping of horn honey clover. Bugs today are terrible. With a huge helping of horn honey clover. So again, I've had that in previous videos. 4 clovers, a chicory, there's a red, 3 whites, one is an intermediate, all psych, and Orion XL Ladino. So this was a previous video this June. And what I did was I came through after I shot that video with my planter on the back of my tractor, loaded the weights to it, and I planted Eagle Seed soybeans in it. That has all rank soybeans and Buckhead Wildlife corn. So facing north, that's all rank corn. That is 3 acres of rank. On the other side of this hedgerow, and again, there's the press box right there. That's one of our big rifle stands. That's all rank soybeans. So why Eagle Seed here? Well, Eagle Seed has 5 different seeds in their Manager's Mix. And let me find, those are some weeds. Here we go. So right here, and the deer have been in here and they're picking. I mean, they selectively pick this out. They have 3 group 7s. One is called Big Fellow, one is Large Lad, and the other is their Viney Bean. At the time, and things may have changed, but it was the only viney climbing soybean on the market that was actually glyphosate tolerant, Roundup Ready. So why here? Ooh, the bugs. Why here? Because come October, number 1 is green, right? And what I do is I time my plots out. And a lot of it has to do with the timing, and obviously soybeans have a relative maturity date. So I try to keep my beans, I want them green longer than my farmers all around me, but I don't want them too green for too long, because if you get a 2-acre plot and it's green, you're gonna have a hard time getting them out. So I try to time everything out where this becomes now the focal point, because the stand is there, there's the maple tree, and this accesses from the south. The house is back up that way, and I come through that little opening right there. It's the main tractor trail. So I ride it, I walk it all summer. I stay out of the woods. They're not crossing boot paths. That is when we get to hunting season, it's do not let them cross your boot path. So these soybeans will stay green, and they will nose through all of this. If you watch a deer with binoculars, if you watch them feed, they're gonna pick certain things out of it. Sometimes they go shunk, 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 and they're just like little lawnmowers. They eat whatever's in front of them. But I learned a number of years back that if you have a green standing soybean, and it doesn't need to be 5 feet tall, it just needs to be a green, look how bushy those things are. Look at that. This thing right here, watch the bees. Look at that. That is your proverbial bushy bean. It is, when you talk in terms of, the cool thing about Eagle Seed, if you start nipping these off, they'll just start bushing out. That's kind of one of the cool things. Now, all my rank beans are bushy beans too. They're considered a bushy bean. But you can obviously look at the difference. When you start talking, like that's Orion XL Ladino. You can see the size of that leaf versus a soybean leaf, right? It's about the same size. But when they come through here, you know, it depends on how hungry they are and how many deer are here, but they're gonna pluck every little leaf off of a soybean plant they can find. So, and it looks pretty well picked over. But I'm gonna give this one toasting of glyphosate here, probably in the next maybe week or 2. I may even come through and spot spray it. The weeds are not terrible, but I don't want to cut it, right? I don't want to take a brush hog through here. I may give it a little bit of foliar with a toasting of gly. I want to keep My goal was to keep the soybeans hidden as long as I can with the clover, but they know what they're looking for. For example, right here, it's nipped, right? That is nipped off. They know what they're looking for. They know. So being that this plot is 40 yards wide, you'll see I have some corn right here. There's corn. That is to keep them, they're gonna walk any edge they can get. So that is to kind of keep them pulled over this way a little bit. And then you will see that there's corn right here. That is to keep them, so the stand is there. That's about 30 yards, give or take. Yeah, pretty close, 30 yards. I've got a scrape there with a rub. I've got a scrape over here. There'll be some scrapes up along the edge. I've got a little path coming through from the logging road in the other field. This is the general tendency. They come from this way up. And I put the corn here so that the big ones do, when they get here, they feel a little bit more comfortable. All I need them to do is step here, right? This is the fun of the game. This is the thrill of the chase. I just need them to step out. Now, I shot a very respectable deer here. For Pennsylvania, it was in the 140s, which is a good deer. I learned this the hard way back right before COVID. I have an observation stand over here. It's a ladder stand, a double buddy stand. And when I first bought the farm, I sat there. I sat there for weeks upon end, almost the whole October, and just learned how the deer moved across this property. This is one of those spots, and it's not always perfect, right? This is archery hunting. This is not, now if I had a rifle in archery, it'd be a totally different story. This plot, though, seems to neck them down enough where there's enough population, and the deer that the buck that I had harvested, he didn't necessarily come in, and so I shot him from that stand. He came in because the two bucks over here were standing in that scrape, and they were, your typical kind of 5s and 6 and 7 points, yearlings, 2-year-olds. But he saw them sparring, and then he walked right in front of the stand. So you don't know how it's going to unfold, and that's one of the keys, right? You don't, but you want it to smell like deer. You want it to smell like safety. It's like, okay, we feed here, we're good here. This is good quality stuff. We like this. So make sure that, you can try to put all this on paper and make it work the way you want. It doesn't always work out that way, but more so than not, right? You want less green plots, smaller in size, put length to them so they have to walk them, and put it where they walk naturally. You either have to, my spot in Ohio was that way. Right? You have to go to them. They're not always going to come to you. It's just the way it is. And that's why they call it hunting, I guess. But this corn, again, designed to keep them safer. They feel a little bit tighter. And all I need them to do is step out and on the edge. And maybe, and you never know, I passed a beautiful deer. Not exactly what I was looking for. There's let's see if I can find it. It's the smaller tree right there. That has a natural and artificial kind of a rub on it. I've taken a saw and gone up it, and then I put my scrape there, but he came right across the plot, went right to it, came to full draw in the stand. It's one of those beautiful scenarios that it's like, I got you, I won. I got you. So, and I didn't have to do anything. And that's the blessing, right? I didn't have to, my season continued. I don't want it to end, so unless there's one that's truly season ending. So yeah, the moisture's coming back. You can tell by the color of the clover. I did put some nitrogen on this. T-Mac Agro 330012 has some sulfur, and also coated in Excellus Max. Again, keeps the nitrogen in a more usable form and doesn't let it volatilize and lock up. So I do have some brassicas coming through, but it does need one good, just probably a light dose of Roundup or glyphosate to just maybe control some of the weed pressure. But I'll definitely come through and just top seed everything. And oh, it's fun. This is the fun part of engineering, deer movement trails. So one of the things I do want to mention, there's a trail. It's difficult to see, but it's right there. And it comes and it kind of snakes down through. There's a grassy river right here and a swale that runs down through. I used to run my brush hog through the field and make paths for the deer to. Problem is the coyotes use them more than the deer do, I think. So we had a coyote issue here a couple years back, and I got a young pup running around right now. He was just east of the house yesterday, and I looked over and I'm like, that brown spot wasn't there the other day. And I grabbed the binoculars and he was sitting there looking at me, and I'm like, oh, you are lucky. I don't have a firearm with me. So, you know, they have their time and their place. I don't care for them they're good during February when you're hunting them, but come archery season, they like to run things. So looks good. Looks real good. I think we're supposed to get some rain here Monday. I may come out and give this another shot of my premium legume fertilizer, and I may even give the corn a little bit more nitrogen. But this was planted, the beans and corn were planted mid-June. Like everything is late planted, and to me that was okay, right? I want green come archery season. And you will be heavily favored if you have a green plot. So, well, we are at the end of July. The fall food plotting window is open. If you need something, reach out. I have a complete line of fall things in stock and a complete line of fertilizers, both for clover and for brassicas. But words of wisdom from the food plot. A green soybean. Well, we've owned the farm for 20 years, right? This is one of those where when I look back, if there's a true number one for your first couple of weeks of archery, it is hard to beat an Eagle Seed soybean, which is a group 7. Again, it's a group 7. It stays green, and they're going to nose through it. You can watch them with a set of binoculars. They'll nose through it. So they may take a mouthful of clover, but they're going to look for that little green soybean. I'll go through, maybe do a little weed control, and then I'll broadcast all kinds of leftover brassica seeds that I have on the back shelf. So, words of wisdom, get yourself a green plot. It's hard to beat. It looks good. We needed that rain, and we got that rain. So, words of wisdom. Keep it green the first couple of weeks of archery. Kevin, Mahalik Outdoors.